This is the latest from Samsung's mid-range line. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm checking out this. It's actually pretty nice. This is the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Now, you hear a lot about their S series because that's their top of the line, but they have top of the line prices too. $1,000, $1,200 for a smartphone. This can be under $400. It's a pretty darn good deal. Now, it features, as you can see, a big bright screen. It's a 6.4-inch FHD Plus Super AMOLED screen running HDR10 Plus at 1080 by 2340, so it's not as high res as the S series, but honestly, when you're watching YouTube videos or playing games or something, this is plenty of resolution for a screen that's only 6.5 inches across. So definitely lots to like here. Gorilla Glass 5 makes it really tough. And there's actually, let me get back here, there's a fingerprint sensor underneath the screen, so you have biometrics for logging in. It's powered by an Exynos 1380 octa-core CPU that has 2 processors running at 2.4 gigahertz and 4 processors running at 2.0 gigahertz. My experience with this is that it's pretty speedy. It is not the fastest phone on the market, but again, this is the top of their mid-range line. This is not the let's put every single amazing piece of technology in a device. This is let's make sure it's also affordable, and that's pretty important. So, storage-wise, you have options of 128 gig or 256 gig, and there's a micro SD card you can put in, up to 1 terabyte of additional storage. Now, I just want to say, who puts 1 terabyte of storage into their phone? What do you do with all that space? Well, my daughter does take a lot of selfies and does take a lot of videos of our pets, so maybe she could fill up a terabyte. I don't know. Android 13, Samsung One UI, Bluetooth 5.3, IP67 water resistant. If you're using this phone to take pictures by the pool or at the beach and you accidentally drop it in or it gets splashed, no sweat, nothing to be anxious about. In fact, most modern phones are much more weather resistant than the old days. You remember when they'd you'd go into the store because it wasn't working and they'd look and run water sensors and say, oh, you've got it wet, I'm afraid your phone's dead. And it's like, what? So IP67 is a huge improvement over that. Now, one of the real standouts with this is it has really good battery life too. The Exynos gives you a really low-powered CPU, so it gives you 46 hours of talk time, 16 days of standby, and a 30-minute charge will give you 30 minutes with the charger will give you a 50% charge. Now, it is USB-C charging only, so there's no wireless charging. I don't know that that's something people are going to miss, but it's worth knowing. Now, let's do a quick tour of all the edges, and then we'll get into the fun part, which is all the cameras. On the bottom, you can see there's USB-C for charging and a cutout for a speaker. On the left, absolutely nothing. On the top, the space for the SIM and micro SD card. On the right-hand side is the typical Android volume up and down on one button and power on the other button. When we look at the back, you can see there are 3 cameras. There's a 50 megapixel f1.8 wide, a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide with a 123 degree field of view, and a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro. On the front, there's the little tiny punch out, and that gives you a 32 megapixel f2.2. That's a surprisingly good forward-facing camera. And I know you don't want to hear the specs, you want to see what it can do. So let's get into lots of demos, starting with photography. Here's the same photo at wide angle, normal, and zoom. And here's an example of macro, and I just want to say it did fantastically with this macro shot. That's a dandelion that's about 1 inch across. Here's a couple of different night shots so you can see how it does in really low light situations. And finally, here's a selfie, and you can see that 32 megapixel forward-facing camera does a pretty darn nice job. On the video side, here's a 1x video, a 3x video, and from exactly the same vantage point, a 7x video. And the high levels of zoom break down a lot. It does not look as good as you would hope. Here's slow motion. It's very relaxing, isn't it? And then here's a time lapse, so we can actually have time go faster. And finally, here's a selfie video. This is selfie mode with the Samsung, and you can see there are cars behind me, so you can hear some of that traffic noise. But overall, I feel like it's doing a pretty good job, and the lighting and everything, again, not optimal, but overall, I think it looks pretty good. What do you think? Lots to really like with those demos. I really think the standout is macro, but even just like those 1x photos, really crisp and bright and detailed. The worst part, the weakness, is that zoom. When you get into the really high levels of zoom, it just doesn't hold up. Even that 7x zoom just did not look really great. So it goes. Now, in terms of dimensions, it is 6.2 inches by 3 inches by 3/10 of an inch, and it's 7 ounces, so it's super easy to work with. It's very comfortable. It's a very nice design. I mean, Samsung, this is their top end of their A series, and honestly, this could be an S series, but I really appreciate that Samsung says not everyone wants to spend $1,000 on a phone, so let's have some really good options for people at the lower end. So this one comes in at a lower price point. Now, let me talk about one more thing before we get to the price, and that is what's in the box. And that is a USB-C to USB-C charging cable, a SIM removal tool. It looks basically like a fancy paperclip. And the AT&T version that I got. And I should mention that AT&T has loaned me this phone for this review, which I appreciate. So you can see it is the AT&T edition of the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. And it's really pretty darn sweet. Now, before we get to the price, let me ask if you could subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and just click on that subscribe button and then click on the bell icon for notifications too, and we're connected. And if you found this to be valuable, informative, useful, and hopefully entertaining, then go ahead and give me a like or thumbs up. Really appreciate when you do that. Excellent. All right, this phone is, let's go ahead and leave it on the lock screen for a moment. This is the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. All right, let's unlock it. So there we go. So this is the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, and it comes in lime violet graphite, which is this color, or white. Now, as far as I can tell, AT&T doesn't cover all of those colors, so you might have to go direct to Samsung to get some of the other ones. I really think violet and lime are really cool colors, but you might have to hunt around a little bit to find those. And this is, through AT&T, $449.99 or $10 a month for 36 months at att.com. Now, I will tell you that when I was hunting around, there are other options for getting this unlocked, so you can take it to AT&T or a different carrier, but you should be able to find this under $400 if you're a good bargain shopper. And that's a pretty remarkable price for this phone. This is a solid Android phone with very good specs and terrific cameras. And as long as you're not planning on using this for like heavy-duty zoom pictures, then there's lots to like in the whole camera setup too. So that's all I got, and I think I'll hope to catch you in my next video.